Okay, cool. So Caroline, thanks for joining us today. You guys are killing it with all the collaborations. I love to see what you guys are doing. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Thanks so much, Pat, and great to be here, everyone. I'm excited to chat about brand collaborations. We'll just preface that I've had a really nasty cold for the last week, so if I start coughing, don't worry, I'll be back off mute momentarily. But just wanted to give a brief background on myself. So I'm Caroline Cado, for those of you I haven't met yet. I'm the co-founder and COO of an upcycled food company called Renewal Mill, based in Oakland, California. I also serve as the board president of the Upcycled Food Association, which is a trade association for brands in the upcycled food space. And before I started my entrepreneurship journey, I worked at Techstars Farm to Fork program, which is a startup accelerator in partnership with Cargill. I also spent some time in tech working in inbound marketing at HubSpot. And before that, my background was in nutrition at the World Food Program and the White House for Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative. But like many of you at Renewal Mill, we're a very small company. There's only 3 of us full time, including myself. And so I end up wearing all of the hats. And so for just a quick primer on my brand, as I said, we're an upcycled food company. So we really focused on turning byproducts into different ingredients. So primarily we focus on the pulps left over when you make plant-based milks, like soy milk and oat milk, and turn them into flours, baking mixes, and cookies. And our flagship ingredient is called okara flour, and it comes from the pulp left over from making soy milk. So we've been selling CPG products since about 2018, but the main problem we've had, as I'm sure many of you can relate, is that we've had very little capital over this time. So essentially we've had no marketing budget, no dedicated marketing person. And so I do all of the sales and all of the marketing in-house. And I quickly realized that I wasn't going to get very far on my own. And so the best way to increase the reach of our brand, I figured, was to collaborate and partner with other brands to collectively raise the awareness of each of our brands. And so as a first step, instead of focusing on what we didn't have, which was money, I started focusing on what we did have. And so kind of took a stock take and said, okay, we have a great story that's super enticing for consumers and other companies who can leverage it. We have outstanding and super fast R&D, so we can create new products really quickly. We have ingredients that other people can use in their own products and we can help them use. And we have a lot of grit, so we have the scrappiness to get it done. And so my first tip of the presentation is, especially as we enter this new economic environment where funding is really challenging, I would definitely encourage you to have a list, maybe even write it down, of all the assets that your brand has, like soft and hard skills or products that you can bring to a potential partner. So before you even think about collaborating, just do an internal reflection on what you have that you could bring to the table. Okay, so before we go any further, I want to talk a little bit about what the difference is between a sale and a partnership. And honestly, I think it's a very fine line. So you'll have to decide what this looks like for your brand individually. But for us, it's quite blurry, but I vaguely think about it like this. If I sell upcycled flour to a company and they put it in their product and then brand the name of the ingredient on the label, which is what 𝐀𝐿𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵 did here on the leftmost picture, I'd say vaguely that's a sale. So I sold them flour, they used it in their product. If I co-create a new product with a brand and we're both involved in the marketing of that product, I'd say vaguely that's a partnership. So on the right, my company Renewal Mill partnered with Miyoko's Creamery, the vegan butter company, to co-create a vegan cookie product that used their butter and our flour, and we marketed it together. But my second tip for the day is, honestly, I think more people should treat sales like partnerships than just financial transactions. So for the 𝐀𝐿𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐵 product, we actually did do some marketing for them because when our customers win, we win. So this comes down to, even when I'm selling into a new retailer, which would normally just be a sale, we always do social media posts announcing that we're in there, kind of try to go above and beyond and offer more partnership-like activities, because we want to support them to make sure that our brand is successful in their store. Okay, so within the world of partnerships or collaborations, kind of using those terms synonymously throughout this presentation, there are lots of ways to collaborate. So I've loosely bucketed the collabs that Renewal Mill has done into 6 different buckets. So the first would be like Instagram giveaways or social media giveaways with different brands. The second would be co-marketed gift products or gift boxes, where we're using multiple brands to sell a third kind of box that we've created together. The third type of collaboration would be sort of direct-to-consumer collateral swaps. So by this, I mean, we've partnered with people to put like flyers or discount code cards into other brands' direct-to-consumer orders and vice versa. And then the fourth type would be sort of like co-promotional marketing. So we kind of email each other's brand newsletter list and offer information about the brand that we're partnering with and a discount code for their website. The fifth type would be co-branded products. So this is where we're creating a net new product from scratch with another brand and co-branding it on the label. And the sixth would be limited time offering partnerships. So creating something together, but that's not going to be an evergreen part of the brand, just kind of like a experiential marketing opportunity. So the tip here is that there's no right way to partner. So I'd love to learn from all of you on how you collaborated beyond these 6 ways. But I think we've found that this kind of summarizes how we've partnered to date, and always looking for more creative ways to learn to partner in new ways. But for the sake of this webinar, we're going to do a quick case study on 3 of these types of partnerships. So the first one is gift boxes or gift kit collabs. So this year, Renewal Mill partnered with Seed & Mill, which is a company based in New York that makes tahini and halva. And we partnered with 𝐂𝐿𝐼, which is a company that makes spice kits, single origin spices in small portions, to make a gift box that allowed consumers to create a tahini swirl brownie. So it was a tahini swirl brownie kit for the holiday season. And we chose these 2 brands to partner with because all of us are women-owned brands. We have overlapping audiences, primarily millennial to middle-aged women who like to cook and are often focused on alternative diets like vegan and gluten-free. And we're all premium products sold in the natural and specialty space and direct to consumer through all 3 of our websites. So the result was that we got professional photography done of the photos. We were able to do collaborative social media posts and giveaways. We sold it direct to consumer or through a single site, and we were able to get organic press in Veg News, which was exciting. So for this, I would say overall, I would call this type of collaboration a very low lift collaboration on our end. So essentially we sent product to our partner. We helped with some of the marketing promotion. We didn't make a ton of money off of this product, but for the effort we put in, we got new followers on social, we got exposure to a new aligned customer audience, and we got organic press. So low lift, high ROI for what we did. The second kind of case study I wanted to go into was a limited time offering collaboration. So this is a limited time offering we did with the ice cream brand Salt & Straw last January. So every January, Salt & Straw takes part in Veganuary, which is kind of a global movement to eat vegan in the month of January. And all of their monthly flavors at Salt & Straw are vegan for January. So we reached out to them for a collab because they're a popular West Coast brand and we're based on the West Coast. And they have a cult-like following and a history of creating sort of out-of-the-box new flavors. So we'd seen some of the work that they'd done with upcycled ingredients a number of years previously. And we thought it would be a fun way for them to highlight upcycled ingredients in a big way, and for us to get in front of their like dedicated vegan customers. So we made it really easy for them to say yes to this collaboration by showing them how our dark chocolate brownie mix could be easily integrated into their ice cream base as an inclusion. And once the flavor was created, which is, you can see here in this photo, it was a chocolate salted caramel cupcake flavor. So once it was created, Salt and Straw did the photography, but we ended up writing a press release for both brands and pitched it to dozens of media outlets on their behalf. And we also did a launch giveaway on Instagram with them, and they branded the name of the flavor in all 25 of their retail stores on the in-store sign. So when you went into the ice cream store, it actually said Renewal Mill Salted Caramel Chocolate Cupcake on the sign. And as a result, we got over 20 unique media placements in 2 weeks. We got lots of social content, and it really raised the legitimacy of our brand, which was key to showing our investors, because we were just about to start a fundraise at this time, and also just in the larger food community. So overall, I would say this is a medium lift collab because we essentially sold them bulk brownie mix and then did free marketing activities like drafting a press release and social posting. So it was high reward and definitely more effort than the gift box, but not as high effort as some of our other product collaborations. So the third one that I wanted to talk about was a co-branded product collab. And this is the case study we're going to look at is our partnership with Miyoko's Creamery, which is a plant-based butter and cheese company also based here in the Bay Area. So the way that this partnership came around was that the sustainability director of Miyoko's actually came to us and said, hey, we have all of this end of run butter that we don't have a home for. Is there anything that you can do with it? And simultaneously, Renewal Mill was looking for a way to phase out palm oil from our ready-to-eat cookie products. And we knew that vegan butter could be the perfect thing. So we said, absolutely. We worked together to create 2 new SKUs of ready-to-eat cookies, chocolate chip and a salted peanut butter, using our upcycled okara flour and their vegan butter. The Renewal Mill team did most of the R&D, but the Miyoko's team was instrumental in giving critical feedback. And then we knew that we both wanted to launch the product with a splash at Expo West last year. So Miyoko's had a booth at Expo, Renewal Mill did not. So we organized a pop-up at their booth to hand out cookies and marketing materials. We co-developed the packaging, and then I wrote a press release and tried to get press mentions for it. They did some of the social posting on their end. And the result was that we had a big launch at Expo. We ended up getting multiple press mentions, including a feature article in Veg News and winning Best New Vegan Dessert for 2022 by The Beat. We also got retail commitments at Expo, and this product has become a permanent SKU in our collection. So partnering with Miyoko's was ideal for us because we're both women-owned Bay Area brands, and Miyoko also has an extremely loyal vegan following and currently no desserts in her portfolio. So we were able to expose her vegan audience to our vegan dessert products. And then we also got to expose her audience to another sustainable mission, being food waste reduction. And then we were also able to raise the awareness and clout of our small brand by aligning with her brand, which is, much larger and much more heavily distributed. So it also started a flywheel of collaborations for us, because once we had this cookie, we were able to get another local ice cream company, Humphrey Slocum, here in the Bay Area, to use the salted peanut butter cookie as an inclusion in a seasonal ice cream flavor. and then do a lot more marketing around that for all 3 brands as well. So overall, I would say this was a very heavy lift. It took about 6 months to have this partnership come to light, but it also has been very high ROI for us as far as revenue and results and brand awareness. So hopefully that storytelling was helpful, but now we're going to get down to the 101 business of how you can do this for your brand. So when you're thinking about partnerships, I would say the step 1 is to identify a partner for your collab. So there's lots of reasons that you might choose a partner, perhaps to have aligned audiences. Maybe that's the same demographic of age, or maybe it's the physical location like the Bay Area, or maybe it's just hobbies that your customers have in common. Perhaps it's because you want to raise the status of your brand and you're looking for additional clout or legitimacy. Or maybe it's because you have aligned missions, or in our case, climate goals. It doesn't really matter the reason that you want to partner with someone, as long as you know and can articulate why you want to partner with that brand. So for us, these are some of the folks that we've partnered with in the last year. Vaguely, I would bucket them into folks that have overlapping audiences for us, folks that have a higher brand status that we are looking to align with, and people that are mission aligned. And the 4th tip of the day is to prioritize partners that can hit multiple buckets for you. So for us, 𝐕𝐢𝐽𝐼's hit the 3 buckets of vegan audience, higher clout, and mission alignment as far as a climate perspective, and kind of eating more plant-based diets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The second step in building a successful collaboration is to approach your potential partner once you've identified them. So maybe you already know them from startup CPG, but if not, there are lots of ways to make the ask. You can cold email them. You can ask for a warm introduction from a mutual connection. You can slide into their Instagram or Twitter DMs. You can find them and introduce yourself at networking events. The point is, it doesn't really matter how you do it. You just have to do it. And the tip here is, don't be afraid to dream big and make the ask. I think a lot of folks are like, oh my God, how did you get to partner with Williams-Sonoma or Sur La Table or Salt & Straw? And my answer in all 3 cases is cold outreach. So I think you'd be really surprised by what you can make happen if you're not afraid to ask. And obviously not in a spammy way, but do your research. So I would say this is an example of the cold email that I sent to Salt & Straw. And the way that I typically approach this is that if it's completely cold outreach, I'll reach out on LinkedIn first with a 1-sentence introduction that explains who I am and why I think we'd be a good partner for that brand. If they accept my LinkedIn connection, I'll then ask them if there's an email address where I can send an email with a little bit more info. And then if I get the address, I'll send a cold email, very much like this one that I sent to Salt & Straw. And obviously we'll be sending out this presentation so you can take more of a look. But some things that you definitely want to highlight are, why would you be a good partner and what can you offer? And do it very succinctly, because people are really busy. So just get to the point, no need for a lot of like fluff language. And this goes back to my kind of initial intro of that list of what you can offer to a partnership is going to be super, super essential when you're thinking about how to approach someone cold. So I sent this email and I got a response a week later from the CEO saying they would reach out for samples, which is a great first step, obviously. But from there, it's important to be super over prepared and make it really easy and convenient for your partner to say yes. So I don't want to add any stress to their plates. So I usually will respond to this with my plan of action and then follow up to make sure that we kind of can get to step 3. So my tip here is, like I said, make it super easy for your collaborator to say yes and make it a no-brainer. And definitely be willing to do a lot of the heavy lifting. In this case, what happened with Salt and Straw was that I sent the CEO pre-made cookies and brownies for our mixes, because I knew that the brownie mix would be a good fit for him, but I didn't want him to have to go through the extra effort of having to make the brownies himself. So sent pre-made brownies along with ideas of different ice cream bases that they could mix them into. And then along with a short deck that included all the ways that we could market those products, and then plus what Renewal Milk could offer in terms of writing press releases, promotion, events, etc. So step 3, once you've approached a partner and they've committed, the third step is to set shared goals for the partnership. And maybe it's a little overused, but I think it's important to set SMART goals. So making sure that you have a very specific goal for the collab with a defined end date will not only help you both keep accountable to achieving it, but it also really helps you evaluate whether this partnership will result in enough ROI for the effort that you're going to have to put in. So in the case of our partnership with Miyoko's Creamery, we knew we wanted to launch a new SKU at Expo West using her butter with the goal of getting it into retail and getting retail commitments at the show and getting press mentions. And we knew that it was relevant for our long-term growth as a brand. So yeah, just keeping in mind that goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So once you have your goals, then it's time to execute on how to reach them. So this is, again, where that list of assets you made really, really comes in handy. Personally, I'm absolutely terrible at photography, but I'm pretty good at writing press releases and pitching media and have some media relations. So I usually offer that. But maybe your strengths are in generating landing pages for a giveaway or designing packaging, whatever it is, discuss with your partner and then divvy up the work accordingly. So you're both playing to your strengths. And then it's imperative to set different checkpoints. So for me, I like 2 weeks. So I usually set checkpoints every 2 weeks until launch, which I find is enough time for busy founders to execute on their tasks, but not long enough that it gets lost in the shuffle of their inbox or whatever else they're focusing on. And then assuming everything goes well, and I'm sure it will, your launch you'll get to launch your collaboration, and it will be very successful, but unfortunately you're not done yet. So the last step in the collaboration journey is to assess the results of your partnership. So this can be super data-driven or as anecdotal as you want. I think they're both really important to look at. So I'm going to just show you a few examples of how we assess the results of our partnerships. So for example, in the case of our Salt and Straw partnership, as I mentioned, we ended up getting more than 20 press mentions in 2 weeks around the collaboration. These are just a subset of the different articles that were published. As a small brand, we currently don't pay for any influencer marketing. But our Miyoko's collaboration, we got a lot of organic posts from folks with large followings who were excited about what we were doing. So this guy with 148,000 followers on Twitter tweeted about how much he loved our cookies and Miyoko's. So I direct messaged him for more information. And he said that he'd found out about us through the Miyoko's Twitter account, who had tweeted about us and the collaborative cookie. And then he even called it out himself, saying cross promotion works. So couldn't agree more, Ryan. But I think it's really true that he probably would never have heard of my brand Renewal Mill if he hadn't been following Miyoko's Twitter. So I think it really does work. So that's one way, kind of organic organic user generated content mentions that we measure the results. Lastly, another way that we assess the results is by how the products are received by the larger food community. So this is a co-branded product that we did with the vegan chocolate maker Vesta Chocolate from New Jersey. And it ended up winning a Nexty Award last year for Best New Planet Forward Product. So it doesn't this was helpful because we were able to kind of raise the awareness of both brands through this award. But, awards are just one way. It could also be things like podcast mentions, user-generated content shares. You can determine what success looks like for you and your collab, but it's important to determine if you hit that goal, and if not, what could be improved for next time. And the last tip of the presentation that I want to share is once you've assessed your results, you should definitely share that assessment back with your partner and create new assets that you both can share to keep that marketing flywheel going. It doesn't cost you anything besides your time, and it's really valuable. So for us, we shared with Vesta that we won this award, and we created an email banner for both of us saying we won the Nexty. And then we had all of our staff put that in their email signature. And then Vesta was also able to do the same, and they were able to market it on social media, raise awareness for their brand. So before we close and turn over to Q&A, so thanks to everyone who's dropped questions so far. I just want to give some final words of wisdom and caution for collaborations. So the first would be, it always takes longer than you think to execute on these things. So definitely plan accordingly and put in the time to do it right, which often means starting much earlier than you think. Secondly, I would say don't try to take on too many collaborations at once. One really good one will do more for you than 5 shitty ones. So kind of focus and put in the effort where you've evaluated the highest ROI. And then the third, and I'd say most important tip is like the way that you vet investors and suppliers, you need to vet your partners carefully, because once you partner with a brand, your brand becomes aligned with who you partnered with. So it's not something to take lightly. So do a quick Google search, make sure there's no skeletons in the closet that you don't want coming out, and really make sure you know why that brand. It's fun to just partner with friends, but I think it means a lot more if you can really clearly articulate why that brand is a good fit. And lastly, I would say nothing is set in stone. So if you do find something you don't like in your research about the brand, or your partner isn't pulling their weight in the collaboration, or they're being sloppy with what they're delivering or deliverables, I would say don't be afraid to say, this is no longer serving me and my brand. And I think it's kind of best that we part ways or pause for now. I think you'll both be happier in the long term. And the last thing, my final tip is to remember to have fun. I think partnerships and collaborations are my absolute favorite part of my job. And I think when they're done well, everyone wins, and it's a really cool experience to learn from folks at other brands in real time and create something new together. Really, truly believe in that kind of rising tides lifts all boats mentality. So yeah, I'd say get out there, do some collaborations, and have a ton of fun doing it. So that's the end of my presentation, but I know that we have some questions. So I turn it back over to you, Patricia.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was taking notes for questions, and then every time you pass a slide and you answer my questions, okay. So that was such very valuable information. Thanks so much for sharing, and also sharing your pitch, the screenshot of what you actually do. I think that's so helpful. Just before I jump to the questions here, I do have one question. So you said that you go on LinkedIn or other places to find the brand's email for whoever you're going to pitch to. Who in the company you normally reach out to? Is a brand manager, is the VP of marketing, or who is it?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the size of the brand. So if it's a small brand, and I would consider small 3 to 7 to 10 people, I usually reach out to the CEO or co-founder. If it's a really large brand, I think, yeah, someone in marketing, and or for us, because we have sustainability as a core tenet of our brand, sometimes the sustainability manager. But yeah, I think those are kind of generally like either someone on the executive team or someone in like marketing. And sometimes there'll be folks that focus exclusively on partnerships, and you can reach out to them. But yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. Okay, so let's start with the Q&A. Amber asked, do you use any specific tech to facilitate D2C collateral or gift boxes?
I wish. No, what we have done, yeah, basically, no. I think you could, but we've done everything quite manually. So we've kind of, when we talk about putting cards in other people's direct-to-consumer boxes, we literally just design them like on Canva, print them ourselves, and then ship them to our partner to include in their orders. For the gift boxes, we've done a variety of different ways of fulfillment. So we've had it where both brands are getting each other's product and fulfilling boxes on each of their direct-to-consumer sites. And we've also done it where we just send all of our product to our partner and they fulfill all of the boxes, and then we just link to their page on our Shopify page. So there are lots of ways to do it. But if you're trying to be as scrappy and cheap as we are, I think you can do it on your own.
Okay, thank you. And then that kind of answer Nicole's questions, just like if a gift box, where did the transactions take place? And then did all the participant brands sell the box D2C on their respective side? And was the consumer data like shared with all the brands?
Yeah, so we've been doing, like I said, a variety of different formats of this to try to figure out what's best. Yeah, we always share the data between brands as far as like how many sales were made. But yeah, sometimes we kind of, if it's a limited time gift box, we'll just commit to like, we're going to give you this many units, you're going to give us this many units, and we'll just create a limited number of boxes and sell them on our respective Shopify pages. So I think there's a lot of different models. You kind of just have to figure out what's easiest for you to execute. We also partner with folks like Caro, where like people will have like friends of their brand selling on their page, and then the fulfillment will come to our Shopify. So lots of ways to do it.
Okay, next question. How do you typically set ROI goals for each partnership, and how do you measure these returns?
That's a good question. I think it's definitely a bit nebulous as well. So like I was saying, there's lots of ways to measure ROI and consider it a success. For us, some of that is not always tied to a specific number. So I'm not always saying like, we need to hit this many likes on Instagram or this many sales. It's kind of more of a brand feeling, like how is this going to elevate the general awareness of our brand? So I think it depends on who you're partnering with. And then I would say, try to set some goals, both quantitative and qualitative. Like, what does success look like for you? If that is a specific number, like we will set specific numbers. For instance, if we're trying to get like, if we're doing a collaborative giveaway to collect email addresses, we'll say like, oh, okay, we want to collect, 2,000 email addresses over this 2-week campaign. But for something like the Salt and Straw partnership, it was a little hard to put numbers to it because we were actually making a sale to them. So we knew how much money we were going to make out of that defined sale, but the intangibles of like press and stuff was more helpful to measure the returns on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, there is an anonymous question just saying that they would love to understand how we can connect with the folks on this call. If the brands are open to collab, I think you can go over the chat, like whoever dropped their website. And another great place, it could be also in the Slack channel. If you ever say, hey, I'm looking for brands, like sustainable brands to collaborate, and that could be a resource. And then kind of like go to the Rick's question that Caroline, like whenever you're trying to find the possible partners, is there any tools or website that you look at?
No, I try to stay on top of news, like CPG news. So I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, try to stay on top of the Startup CPG Slack channel, just see like what brands are coming up in sort of like popular conversations in the food industry. So I like the Food Tech Connect newsletter. I like to get the Nosh newsletter. Obviously the Startup CPG magazine, that kind of thing. It's a great way to just see like where the conversation is flowing about like brands that are really resonating with people. But I also think like we found a lot of our partnerships in person. So like going to events, going to, expo events like Allie Rally and stuff, and just talking to people, you'll be surprised like the synergies that you create. So for example, we pitched at an event in the Bay Area called Food Funded a number of years ago, which brings together like brands in the area. Someone heard our pitch and came up to us and ended up being 𝐲𝗵𝐵𝐵𝐵, which is a brand that makes frozen baby food. They were looking for a way to increase their allergen line. So our product is made from soy. So they were like, hey, we are also a women-owned brand from the Bay Area. I think it could be cool to use your flour in our baby food product as a way to introduce early soy allergens. And that my co-founder had just had a baby at the time. So it really aligned, and we would never have found them just by like Googling on the internet. So talk to the people around you, definitely go to events. I think there's lots of ways to find people, but yeah, otherwise I would say kind of keeping on top of the news through podcasts and newsletters is helpful.
Yeah, I love like the connections that you make in person. Sometimes it's just like, it can't beat the digital world. So I love that tip. What is your key strategy to connect with the media contacts / reporters? Does it matter if the company founder reaches out versus PR professionals?
Yeah, I think the key to connect with media contacts and reporters is to have a real story and a real pitch, and be helpful, not spammy. So again, a lot of my media contacts are folks that I've met in person and like nurtured a relationship with. It's kind of like dating. You don't want to slide into someone's DMs and immediately demand something from them. So you really have to cultivate a relationship, both like online and offline. So yeah, get to know folks that write in media. Then once you have the relationship, I'd say sending a really short pitch that has like a really snappy subject line of like what you want them to cover, and then saying like, I can share more if you're interested, and then let them come back and say yes, before you kind of just, like just having a new product is not enough story in itself. So you really have to like kind of deduce what the hook is for them, and make sure that you've done your research on the reporter as well, to make sure that you like align with their beat and what they're trying to cover in their kind of day-to-day. I don't think it matters if the company founder reaches out versus PR professionals, but I think sometimes we've had more success with me doing it because I really, I'm passionate about the brand. I understand how to tell the story in an authentic way. And if you're a PR person can do that, that's amazing. And if they have a ton of connections and have formed those relationships, that's also amazing. But I would just say, yeah, make sure that like they're not doing it as just like one of 30 brands that they're emailing about that day, like that you have actually like worked with them to hone the pitch and the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for sharing like how you deal with it, because I think that that's one of the big questions of like, you want a PR, so should you reach or like versus a professional? But sometimes it's also easier to have a PR agency just because they already have a relationship, and maybe I'm wrong, but like also when you're a founder, you have so many other things.
Yeah, I think they can be helpful. I think if you are kind of doing it, scrappily on your own, also don't overlook the power of just posting press releases. So if you're part of like Specialty Food Association, or you can pay for a subscription to a press release posting service. But basically like anytime I write a press release, even if it's not going to get picked up by media, I post it so that reporters who are like constantly looking at those can kind of look and see if there's anything that piques their interest and reach out to you for more info.
Oh yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, the platforms. Just on the PR note, we recently did a PR webinar as well, on someone kind of like going through how to like reach out to PR, to get into the PR. I dropped the link in the chat in case you guys want to watch later. Okay, the recording will be available probably by tomorrow, with the presentation here. Next question, have you done a giveaway on Reddit? And if so, would love any tips.
That's a great question. I have not done a giveaway on Reddit yet. I'm not an active Reddit user myself, but I think it's a really interesting community, and definitely you can get really focused with folks who care about a specific topic. So yeah, if you do it, definitely let me know. I would love to hear how it goes.
I never heard about it. That's very interesting. Is that like, have you heard about that before? Is that a thing?
I know that like there's a lot of untapped marketing potential on Reddit. Like the cost per click for Reddit ads and stuff is really low. And there's like so many, subreddits on specific topics. So I think it could be a great option. And we just haven't dabbled there yet.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Stephanie, if you do any collaboration, any giveaway there, let us know. I'm curious too. Okay, so is there any contractual legal tips to protect your downside in the event that something goes wrong? Do you have contracts in place for this collapse, or was it more a handshake deal?
It's a good question. And I think it also depends on who you're partnering with, will dictate like how much legal protection or like documents you need to have. For us, all of the partnerships we've done have been more of a handshake deal. And again, I think about it kind of like dating. If I was going on a date, I wouldn't ask someone to sign a prenup right away. I think that like just sets the conversation off on a weird kind of note. So we've done them pretty casually, but obviously consult your legal team. And, if you're partnering with an extremely large company or there's, concerns about proprietary nature of what you're doing, definitely look into that.
And then how do you split costs? Like, for example, it's about creating a brand new product. It may require formulation, production cost. Does it usually go 50-50?
Again, it's a great question. I would say no, it doesn't. It doesn't usually go 50-50. I would say if we're the person initiating the partnership, usually it would probably, I would say we do the heavy lifting, and that includes a lot of the cost. But I think it's up to you to decide with your partners. So in the case of, for example, we did a partnership recently with a date sugar company. We agreed to purchase the date sugar from them, and then they agreed to purchase the final product back from us, or like a certain number of units to sell on their website. And so I think we got, a little bit of a discount on that ingredient, but also we're able to like recoup some of the cost from them buying the product back. So for like our 𝐂𝐿𝐴 collaboration, we definitely took on most of the cost, but it's also now an evergreen part of our SKU set and not theirs, primarily. So they like their brand is on it and they're like happy to promote it, but we got most of the upside from selling the actual product. So I think we took on most of the cost and the liability. So I think it just depends on each conversation, but I would say have that conversation early when you're setting your goals and say like, okay, if you're doing, for example, like a social media giveaway or a gift box, like, we have $500 to commit to spending on photography and promotion. Like what are you able to bring to the table there? I think just being open and honest is helpful.
Thank you. I think that kind of answered Martina's question that she asked, how do you budget for collaboration? Is there anything else you want to add or?
Yeah, I think it's a larger piece of your marketing budget conversation. So for us, we have done a lot of partnerships because I've found that the ROI for the spend is very high. And like I said, we have essentially very little to no marketing budget. So we don't have a ton of money to offer folks, but we do have a lot of time and, ingredients and stuff. So I think it just is looking at where you're spending your marketing dollars across all of your different activations and saying like, okay, is it worth spending a little bit less on social media ads to invest in promoting this partnership? If the answer is no, then don't do it. But if it is yes, then, it could be worth it.
Thank you. How do you forecast demand for gift boxes?
Ooh, that's a tricky thing. I'm not sure that we have figured it out exactly. I would say price point really matters. So we've definitely saw like velocities are much higher for boxes under $30. But if you're, partnering with multiple brands and it's like a premium product, sometimes the price point is more like $50. I'd say we over-indexed on the first one that we did and weren't able to sell through that inventory. So I think we've kind of started doing them more seasonally. So like around a certain event, especially like giving season, trying to get placement in gift guides, which drives a lot of traffic to them. And then kind of setting a limited number that we're going to make. So like we're going to commit to making 50 boxes. And if we sell 48 of them in the first week, then we'll reevaluate. But otherwise, like we're going to kind of like put constraints and boundaries on it. So it is hard, but I think like you'll get a sense of how receptive your customers are the first time you do it.
Did you start when you did like the gift boxes like smaller and then you like grew over time, or was like already a big one, and how was for you?
Yeah, the first one we did, honestly, I don't know that I would recommend doing what we did, but we did like 8 to 10 upcycled brands for around Earth Day, and trying to sell like a collaborative gift box. I think we learned that Earth Day is not a huge gift giving box season. Like people aren't purchasing products for themselves or for gifting to others. And it was hard to manage that much inventory, and we over-indexed on number of boxes, and we were also doing consignment. So we took all the inventory in to fulfill for our partners, and then we're going to send it back after on consignment. So I think that was too big. So for the holiday season this year, we kind of definitely pared it down and did more of like, we're going to, focus on like doing 50 well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that and being honest, because sometimes like we want to start like doing an amazing one, but like to get the experience is better, like grow over time, I guess.
Yeah. And I think everything from my inbound marketing days, it's kind of like, I think about it like 20% of your time should be spent on doing the thing and 80% of your time should be spent on promoting the thing. So I think if you can make it a little bit simpler, then you have more time to focus on like getting the product into gift guides, doing the social media promotion, kind of generating that buzz that will ultimately lead to sales.
I like that analogy. Okay, so Laura said that you mentioned getting organic press. Did you still send out press releases or do anything else to get that press?
So for some of them, like I would say my standard procedure is to send out a press release like to one of those platforms, even if I'm not pitching specific reporters, for every launch that we do or every like big collaboration. I mean, obviously not for like social media stuff, but like if it's a new product. For organic press, I think we also try to be strategic about when and where we're launching these products. So like aligning it with an event like Expo is a great way to sort of get that organic press of somebody like discovering it on their own, or like finding it and including it in like a trend list or something. So I would say rule of thumb, yes, like all press is good press. So definitely send a press release no matter when you're doing it. But you can get organic press in other ways. And I would say the way to do that is like tying it to something experiential.
Cool. Can you share again the newsletters that you follow, the names?
Oh yeah. I really like the Food Tech Connect newsletter. I think it's kind of gives a high level what's happening in all parts of the food sector. So like food service, CPG, agriculture. I usually get the NOSH newsletter. And that's kind of just like quick hits of like what's happening in CPG that day. And then, yeah, definitely all of the things that Startup CPG puts out. Those are probably the 3 that I follow most heavily. And then a few like Progressive Grocer and like baking ingredients and business kind of specific newsletters.
Yeah, I think another one that is being like popular is the snack shot.
I haven't heard that one. That's awesome. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's very nice. Okay, the webinar will be sent by email to everyone that RSVP with the presentation. And I drop here in the chat to the webinar library where we have all of our past webinars that are recorded. And I saw also you guys talking about Expo West, and Caroline mentioned that like it's good to network. And oops, where are you? Okay, here. That is good, like to network and meet other people. We have a few events coming up at Expo West, and one of the events we have a very cool list of guests on the Allie rally from like big retailers or media companies, so you should definitely check that out. I dropped the link here as well. I think we are done with the questions. Thank you so much, Caroline, for sharing all your experience. That was an amazing webinar, a lot of good information. Thanks for everyone that attended us. And yeah, we will share the webinar. Any final words?
No, just excited to see what people create. And if you are at Expo, definitely hit me up. Also, my email was on the last screen, but please feel free to reach out to me via email or LinkedIn. Always looking to meet new friends in the food community.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'll see you at Expo West then. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much.